Well, happy Saturday. It's a little bright and it's very cold. Um, just decided to throw this post in there. Saw a really interesting article that does have relevance with respect to real estate and also public policy, and that is how investors and developers are really interested in strip malls, older, established mid-sized shopping centers. As the economy has shifted with e-commerce and also changes in behaviors that are still in place due to the impact of the pandemic, these types of commercial developments, talking about a grocery store, especially a grocery store, and then probably of additional additional spaces for retail, restaurants, services, whatever the case may be, are very popular because they get a lot of foot traffic and they remain relatively high leased. The lease rates for these types of facilities, based on a chart that was in the article from Wall Street Journal, are actually better than that of warehouses. And so really interesting information. And so because there's a lot of demand for them with respect to supply, and supply has not increased because construction costs are just not in a space to make these types of developments appropriate for construction in most cases, especially in areas that are not seeing significant growth of population. These developments are ideal for investment. And so with that investment comes the opportunity to rehab and redevelop the properties, to improve upon them, which is, of course, is a benefit for customers as well as a benefit for the local areas. Of course, these types of developments for at least a generation now have not been the fan of a lot of the new urban movement, and also some residents, due to their lack of aesthetics, the nature of course, their largeable parking areas and other factors. And at the same time, we're talking about projects that are already in the ground, places that are already in the ground that are finding a resurgence in life and demand. And you will even find these in downtown areas. There are plenty of downtown areas that, along with the more traditional downtown build out in terms of how their structures are, you will also find strip malls. And so while it may not be ideal to some people, it is nice to see that this class of commercial development is being sought after and is being utilized. And if it's being utilized, I don't necessarily personally see the harm in it. So just something to kind of keep in mind, because of course it does have an impact on policy. It does have an impact on what people's expectations are. At the end of the day, if there's demand for it from the standpoint of businesses, and there's demand for it from the standpoint of customers, and if there's demand for it from investors, it's probably a style of commercial retail development that is going to continue to exist, and at least in its existing footprints, and with, of course, in growing and emerging areas, you will see more of them, especially if they're anchored by a grocery store. So just something to think about and share, and I hope you all have a good rest of the weekend. Stay warm. Take care.